So, very good afternoon to you folks. Welcome to the latest Constructing Excellence Midlands monthly webinar. We're just going to hang on for a few more seconds while maybe just a few more people hop in. We're only expecting a few people this afternoon, small in quantity but huge in quality looking at the list. Perfectly formed guest list, which is good. I'm joined by Matthew Bryan from International Synergies. Delighted that Matthew's been able to give of his busy time to join us this afternoon. So we're just going to hang on, as I say, for a few more minutes. Because we're small on numbers this afternoon, we're going to treat it a little bit more like a podcast so that we can actually send this out, communicate this out both to Leaders Meets and CE Midlands databases. And we've also got a big event coming up with International Synergies in April on the 21st, where we're having a workshop looking at waste and how we can help one another. And I can talk a little bit about that at the end of the presentation. So, Matt, are you happy just to leave it for another couple of minutes while we...
Yeah, of course.
While we wait for maybe a few more people to join us. Other than that, as I say, we're a small but perfectly formed band. So there we are. So Andrew and Eugene are currently with us. Would you just like to share with us maybe in the chat column where you're from, both in terms of the organisation and geography, so that Matt's got an idea of the audience to whom he's addressing? That would be most helpful if you wouldn't mind doing that, folks. Thank you. It's what is it, 2 minutes past? We'll give it till 3 minutes past, Matt, I think, because we are expecting a few more people. Eugene's from Newcastle upon Tyne, so you must be celebrating the win you had in the week if you're a football fan. I think didn't Gordon get 4 goals, which I think is a record, so you must be celebrating. And Andrew, where are you from geographically, or both, business-wise? And I see Ian's joined us now as well. Ian, welcome. Thanks for joining us. We're a small but perfectly formed audience this afternoon. So we're going to do it more in the form of a podcast that we can then promote and communicate outwards. And Ian, I was just talking about the event that we're organising on the 21st of April. It may be that later on you'd like to come in on the call so that you can talk about it, because you've been at the heart of the arrangements. Look, it's 3 minutes past, Matt. I think what we'll do, without further ado, is hand over to you to run your presentation, and then I'll come back in. We'll have a bit of a chat, and Eugene and Andrew, if you've got any questions, please do ask them, and we'll deal with them later. So I'm going to go turn the camera off, turn the mic off, and I'm going to hand over to you, Matt. Cheers.
Excellent. Can you just indicate you can see my screen, guys?
All good. Yeah, very good. Very clear. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay. So we'll have 20 minutes just to go through the slide deck that we prepared, and then if anybody has any questions, please feel to put the questions in the chat, and then we can answer them at the end. Or if you would like to put your hand up and speak, and we can see your faces and ask some questions, we can do that too. So we're just talking about the resource efficiency support in the West Midlands, and this is the agenda for today. So we're going to have a little look at who we are, what West Midlands Support that is, what Synergy Direct is, and then answer some questions. So I'm from a company called International Synergies. We're a small environmental consultancy. We've got a base in the Jury Quarter in Birmingham, and we've also got an office in Northern Ireland, and we do work for the Northern Irish government. So the mantra is that waste is just a resource in the wrong place. So there's no such thing as waste. It's just a resource waiting to go somewhere else. So we've currently worked in 50 countries across the world and introduced them to a methodology called industrial symbiosis. And industrial symbiosis is circular economy. So just like that mission statement, it's looking at people's waste streams and finding a better solution for them. So rather than them having to go to landfill or even go to a recycling plant, those materials from one company are used by a different company as their sort of valuable input. So just some little facts there that so we've been running since about 2006, and there's been 50 megatons of CO2 reduction facilitated, but also £3 billion put back into the economy by making sure that resources are used efficiently. So industrial symbiosis is often cross-sector because obviously, case in example, if you've got a cast metal foundry that uses sand, their waste sand isn't necessarily going to go to another foundry because they've also got waste sand. So we're looking at other sectors. So waste sand from a foundry is currently going to across the West Midlands. We've organised that to go to to a company called RRS, who are a aggregate reseller. So they wash the contaminated sand, and that sand goes into aggregates. So it's looking to find the value in a waste stream. So rather than those cast metal foundries sending their sand at £70 a ton to landfill, they're actually able to have a rebate from companies to take that sand to wash it, and that sand is being used in construction, which is an alternative form of that material. So I'm sure some of you on the call might have seen this graphic before, but that's showing how industrial symbiosis circular economy works. Is on the left, you've got a linear system where your natural resources come in and then your products come out, and your waste stream either goes to landfill or to recycling. Whereas a circular system, as you can see by that graphic, the waste, the red then turns to yellow. So a waste product can actually be an input for a totally new resource or stream of income. So what some of the things we do industrial symbiosis facilitation. I'm not quite sure if anybody remembers the National Industrial Symbiosis Programme, otherwise known as NISP, which was UK wide. And that was a program that sort of looked at everybody across the UK's waste streams and found placements for it. That is currently running in a smaller form in the West Midlands, which we'll come on to in a minute, which is under the WMRN, which is the Midlands Resource and Reuse Network, which is run by the West Midlands Combined Authority, which is open to any company that is based in the West Midlands Combined Authority region. But like I said, we'll come on to that a bit more in a minute. We also have a resource matching platform, which we'll come on to in this profile too. So I won't spend too much time on this section because we'll go through it in more detail in a second. So this section is just regarding our ISL West Midlands projects. So we have two running at the moment, which are WMRN and CBAS. So WMRN is the West Midlands Resource and Reuse Network, and CBAS is Circular Economy Birmingham. So that is a smaller program. But these are, so WMRN, we've got three main waste streams, which are metal, sand, and wastewater. And what we've been doing is looking at companies who predominantly deal with these three waste streams and finding, because they are quite hard waste streams to find something for. Obviously, say your company produces a lot of cardboard, there's easy recycling options for cardboard, we all know them. But when it comes to sand and wastewater sludges and things like that, things can get a bit more complex. So like I said, that's where the cast metal foundries has been a good example for us. So rather than all this sort of sand that's being wasted, that's been obviously contaminated, going to landfill, that's been able to go to a processing plant in Meriden, where the sand has been washed and then being used in aggregate. But during this program, we've managed to, there's the figures across the board there, where it's been a savings of not only monetary savings, but also carbon savings for not having to produce new material. CBAS is a smaller program designed to help SMEs within Birmingham and Solihull, which goes into them. What happens is you go into a little company, find out what their waste resources they have, and finding solutions for that. And we've also had workshops and also carbon literacy training to help those companies sort of start their own journey when it comes to recording their carbon footprinting, and then being able to help them to put a reduction plan in place. So we've worked with over 180. It's more now. It's probably because it started March 2024, but we're probably on about 220 businesses across Birmingham now where we've managed to, and that goes from big things, like I mentioned with the sand, to even smaller things. If they've got IT equipment, we've got a company that takes that IT equipment and recycles it. And they've got just started a program called the Birmingham Device Bank, where they refurb older equipment to give less privileged people a chance to own a device. And we've had a law firm who've donated over 100 laptops to that company. So there's things like that designed to make sure that we've got the circular economy running in this area. So that is a sort of framework of what we do when we have a visit. So we'll have a visit with a company, and assess sort of what waste streams they have, what they're paying to get rid of, because those, if they've already found something where they the waste can get taken away, brilliant. But if they're paying for a solution to have that waste or resource taken, we look at a beneficial example that moves it up the waste hierarchy, but also saves that business some money. We've got resource matching workshops, like Andrew mentioned. We have one on April the 21st, and that is basically a speed dating for waste. So we get typically maybe 50 companies in a room, and everyone writes on a piece of paper what resources they have, and other companies say, well, we could use that. And it's a really good networking opportunity, but also a place where you can think outside the box of being able to take resources. We'll go on to Synergy Direct. I've got a few slides about that, but that is we've been using it for over 20 years, but we've designed our own piece of software, which is web-based, which is a Facebook marketplace for waste, basically, where companies can put on what resources that they want. For instance, a company could say, I'm really after a load of tables and chairs for my office because I'd rather have second-hand ones. And there might be a company who are doing a refit who are throwing a load of tables and chairs and desks away. So those two companies can be matched and make sure that things are kept circular. We've also got, which is very construction based, the West Midlands RIG, which is the Regional Infrastructure Group, and that has been set up over the last year to promote sharing of resources between big construction companies in the West Midlands. So people like Balfour Beatty Vinci, who are running HS2, Costain, Barhale, Severn Trent Water, companies who have got big infrastructure projects, who once they finish are typically left with a big sort of a little compound, probably full of waste materials that they don't know what to do with, or that there's not enough of it to take back to their central depot. We're hoping that those kind of materials can be used in other projects. So it may be a smaller construction company who can say, well, we'll have all that Harris fencing, or that bit leftover wood, or that leftover piping. And that would, rather than those inevitably, unfortunately, those resources may be going back to a central depot and being left there to waste away for a couple of years, or worse still, being just left on site. So this is a little bit about, I've talked about the matching workshops. So yeah, 30 to 50 organizations in a room can generate up to 300 potential synergies or matches in a day. And it's facilitated by us. So we'll sort of talk you through the process. And not only is it a brilliant networking event, it also yields some really good local matches and networks so that these resources are not wasted. These valuable waste streams are given to somebody else. So, like I discussed earlier, so if you look at sort of foundry sand as an example of a synergy or match, this foundry sand, rather than it going, the fact that foundry sand, that even though it was contaminated, was just going straight to landfill is, to me, is madness. So now that once it's been washed and decontaminated by the plant in Meriden, it can be used in construction products, in aggregate, in cement, in abrasives, in agriculture as backfill and asphalt. There's so many applications for something. We never want to see a valuable resource just go to waste. So these are the companies that are in sort of the regional infrastructure group that we have. as you can see, so Balfour Beatty Vinci looking after HS2, Severn Trent Water, Colas Rail, Galliford Try. We've got a member of the Environment Agency there who's able to offer some support. So if you are a construction company and you want to get involved in that, please do get in touch. These are just some some examples of the synergies that have come from matching workshops. So we had a company called Millboard who were producing sort of decking, and I did have some information on it somewhere, and I do apologize, I can't find it in my notes. But yeah, they had a load of offcuts of the boarding that they made decking out of that were going to waste, and we were able to find a company that could turn that into an abrasive, thus diverting 800 tons per year from waste, and that was a saving of £200,000. But on top of that, 11,000 tons of CO2 equivalent. Another nice study was a company called Pim and Wildsmith. They're a sandblasting company, so they were powder coating and treating materials. So in the process of that, they were obviously using an abrasive to powder coat, and we were able to have a secondary stream to make sure that powder coating was used in a capping material for a foundry process, which meant that not only were we diverting that material from landfill because it was getting used for something else, the cost for Pim and Wildsmith meant that rather than it costing them £32,000 to dispose of it to landfill, they were actually getting back £16,000 per load because it was being used sort of for a totally different application. So it formed part of the foundry slag material, and that in total meant that it was an 80 ton landfill reduction and a 95 ton of CO2 equivalent as well. So that is a really good win, and that was a company that was local. Smaller things that we do, so obviously we work with a company called Birmingham Play Care Network, who are based in Birmingham, and they do child's play, and they go into schools and they sort of do lots of crafting. They've also got a shop called the Scrap Store where they sell all weird and wonderful things, and we've been able to find brilliant applications for them that they've used in schools, and sell at their craft store to keep things out of landfill. Some examples from last couple of weeks, there's a company in Warsaw that make rubber gaskets, and part of the stamping process, they're left with these perfectly round sections of rubber which are exactly the same size as a coaster, and they're made of this really unusual rubber, but it's a good quality and it's inert, which means that if you were to eat it, it's not going to harm you. But these coasters are now being made as care packages for Birmingham Hospital and Birmingham Hospice, and the children are using a special type of paint to draw designs on these pieces of rubber coasters, and then they're being sold in the shop, which is again a great. Not only are we dealing with 800 tons worth of sand, it's nice that these smaller waste streams are going to a good cause as well, because these rubber offcuts were originally just going straight into recycling, and some of them were ending up in landfill. Okay, so this is just a little section about Synergy Direct. So like I said before, Synergy Direct, to put it simply, is a Facebook marketplace for waste. So it's a system which is web-based, where you're able to list resources that you have, find resources that you might need, and also track and report impact. So it's great for sort of if you've got an ESG manager who's looking at social value or looking to track different metrics. It's a fantastic simple system for that as well. So the benefits are that looking at that, like I said right at the start of the presentation, waste is just a resource in the wrong place. So we're looking at waste rather than being something we want to get rid of, looking at it as a valuable resource that can be used by someone else. This also helps sort of reduce the scope 3, so your carbon reduction, because scope 3 is usually any business 80% of your emissions are scope 3. So this is a fantastic way of reducing that and showing actual impact. And there's also the added benefits, not only of the carbon reductions, but the cost implication as well. So the company in Warsaw that has that rubber, they're currently getting rid of 3 1,100 litre bins of that rubber per week. So we're in the process of brokering a deal with a company who are willing to buy some of that rubber off them. Obviously, they're not going to pay thousands of pounds, but rather than having to pay for 3 1,100 litre bins per week to be recycled, there's a company who's interested in having that high quality rubber and are willing to give that company some money for it. So it's, as things economically are very tight at the moment, which is very well documented, and this is another way of maximizing resource streams. That's a little picture of what the dashboard looks like. So it's really, we've had a system redesign over the last couple of months. So like I said, since we've been using this system as International Synergies for the last sort of 20 years, but over the last 2 years, we've redesigned it to be more user friendly for companies to have. So this is going to be rolled out to, and is in the process of being rolled out to, any company who think they would benefit from it. So if Synergy is something that you want some more information on, please don't hesitate to sort of put it in the chat, and we can send you some information via email. But it's not only good for your sort of social value and carbon metrics, but it can, it will generate you some revenue as well. Excellent. Well, that is 19 minutes. So I finished a minute under. So if there is any questions,
that's perfect, Matt. Perfect timing.
Them now.
Finishing on time and on budget. That's a new one for construction. So you can probably see, folks, why we're very supportive of this within Constructing Excellence. It fits perfectly within our climate action working group. And it's with them that Matt's colleague Ian is working on this event in Birmingham on the 21st of April. I don't see any questions, Matt, in the Q&A column. Eugene, Hin Chung, Andrew, have you got any questions or comments you'd like to make with Matt here? If not, we will bring it to a close with thanks to Matt. And we'll, as I said, right up front, we're going to turn this into a podcast in effect and send it out and about. But do we have any comments from the floor? I'm going to ask one last time. Andrew, Eugene, Hing Chung, any questions or comments you'd like to make? If not, Matt, I think it's an early lunch.
Yes.
It's a bit like a rain-affected test match. So thank you very much. Yeah, no questions, but very interesting. So that's good. Thank you for that comment. And I look forward, Matt, to working with you and Ian towards this event in Birmingham on the 21st of April. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you all.
Bye all. Bye-bye.